are the dimensions of the tabernacle? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Exodus on walking through the Bible.
Of his word, the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Exodus 26. We're going to be reading from verses 15 to 25. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Exodus 26, beginning at verse 15. And for the tabernacle you shall make the boards of acacia wood, standing upright. 10 cubits shall be the length of a board, and a cubit and a half shall be the width of each board. 2 tenons shall be in each board for binding one to another. Thus you shall make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And you shall make the boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side. You shall make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under each of the boards for its 2 tenons. And for the second side of the tabernacle, the north side, there shall be 20 boards, and their 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. For the far side of the tabernacle, westward, you shall make 6 boards, and you shall also make 2 boards for the 2 back corners of the tabernacle. They shall be coupled together at the bottom, and they shall be coupled together at the top by 1 ring. Thus it shall be for both of them. They shall be for the 2 corners. So there shall be 8 boards with their sockets of silver, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under each of the boards. Over our last 2 episodes, we've been talking about the building of the tabernacle. The word tabernacle means to dwell or dwelling place. In this case, the tabernacle is the dwelling place of Jehovah. Now, as we have said in other episodes, having a tabernacle on earth didn't mean that God left heaven and exclusively dwelled on earth, for Paul would later say that God does not dwell in temples made with hands. But it does mean that the tabernacle, which would contain the Ark of the Covenant, was where God would meet Moses and later the high priest. In the book of Numbers, we're going to find that the tabernacle was situated in the center of the camp, and Israel encamped around it, meaning that God dwelt among his people. God's first instructions concerned the creating of the coverings for the tabernacle. Now, I have to admit, upon reading this chapter, it was highly confusing to me as to what the tabernacle looked like, so we will be using a picture to assist us in visualizing this. Note, I am not saying that the artist's rendering is exactly correct, but it will help us for our purposes. The innermost covering would be made of linen, the second covering would be made of goat's hair, the third covering would be made of ram's skin dyed red, and the outer covering would be made of badger skins. God had very specific instruction for the innermost and second covering, but for the outer 2 coverings, his only instructions were what they were to be made of. Having coverings for the tabernacle would do you no good, though, if you didn't have a frame. So in today's reading, we read of that. Simply by giving us the dimensions of some of the coverings for the tabernacle meant that the size of the tabernacle had to be specific, or coverings simply wouldn't work. The wood that was used for the tabernacle was to be acacia wood, like the Ark of the Covenant and the showbread table were. Each board was to be 10 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide. A cubit is 45.72 centimeters or 1.5 feet, so each board measured 457.2 centimeters by 68.6 centimeters or 15 feet by 2¼ feet. For ease of numbers, we're going to be referring to the tabernacle's dimensions in feet from now on. Since each board's length was 15 feet, we know that when the boards were stood up, the tabernacle stood 15 feet tall, or about 75% of the height of a typical 2-story house with a flat roof. It is said that the 2 tenons are to be on the end of each board in order to bind the tabernacle together. A tenon is a projecting piece of wood meant to act as a joint and to be inserted into a hollowed-out hole known as a mortise. Each board of the tabernacle was to be made like this. By making the tabernacle this way, it meant that the building could be set up and taken down as Israel traveled from place to place. The tabernacle is going to have 4 sides, which are denoted by compass points. The south and the north sides would be the long sides, while the east and the west sides would be the short sides. On the south side, they were to set up 20 boards, meaning that in total the tabernacle would be 45 feet long. In order to make the structure with its boards, 40 sockets made of silver were made for the 20 boards. We don't know the shape of each socket, but they would most certainly have been massive, for Exodus 38:24 says that each socket contained a talent of silver, meaning each socket weighed about 34 kilograms or 75 pounds. In each socket of silver was to be a mortise that would take one of the 2 tenons that was placed on each board. Now, there is some disagreement with how these sockets were situated, but a likely scenario would be that that it would resemble the bottom of a gate, with the sockets of silver being placed in a hole in the ground and the wooded boards being joined on the top of the sockets using the tenons and mortises. The north side of the tabernacle would be made the same way. The far side of the tabernacle, the west side, there would be 6 boards. Now, if you do the math, that would make the tabernacle 13.5 feet wide. However, anyone building a structure like this knows that at corners, you need a corner piece of wood to attach both sides, which is what verse 23 deals with. These boards were coupled together at the top and the bottom by one ring, which has left people confused as to what is meant here. Since this is the case, we will not speculate except to say that Israel would have known what this meant. All of these boards of wood would have tenons and would be placed into silver sockets, as discussed before. Now, these corner posts likely added about 0.75 feet to both sides of the west side of the tabernacle, making it in total 15 feet wide. So in all, the tabernacle measured 45 feet long by 15 feet wide by 15 feet high. In the next episode, we will finish describing the structure as well as how the tabernacle was laid out. With that, our time is up for today. Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Exodus 26, verses 26 to 37, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.
Of his cross.